Well, hello, and thank you for your interest in Case Design Pro. My name is James Webb, and today I want to walk you through a sample of putting the case together. We designed Case Design Pro to be dynamic but easy to use as it relates in the time that it takes you to put a case together. And it does a very good job of relaying your plan over to your potential client in a way that's easy for them to understand. I'm a big believer in keeping it simple. You know, my father shared with me when I first got into the business that the advisor he was working at the time, before he moved over his assets to me, he shared with me that every time he left that advisor's office, he was more confused walking out than he was walking in. And it was due to the fact of the advisor providing plans with 15, 20, 25 pages of charts and bars and graphs, and it was just way too much. It's overkill, and most clients aren't going to understand that. So we want to design something that was simple, in a very easy way for a client to understand exactly what it is that you're putting together for them. And Case Design Pro will do that. You know, Case Design Pro right now is responsible for helping advisors close millions and millions of dollars of cases each month, because it does a really good job of relaying that message to the client that, you know, here's your plan, here's what we're doing for you, and it's in a format that they can understand it. I'm a big believer that if your clients like you and trust you, they'll do business with you. But if they truly understand the plan that you've put together for them and they know how they're going to retire, that's how you develop those clients for life, and Case Design Pro will definitely do that for you. Case Design Pro is very cost effective. It's on a month-to-month basis, so we don't do any long-term contracts, and it's only $50 a month. So if it helps you close a couple cases throughout the year, it's more than paid for itself. But I'm very confident it's going to do more than just that. It's going to help you really relay those your case designs to your clients, and they're going to understand it and move forward with you. So let's do a sample case here. We'll use Bob and Mary Smith, and I'll show you how easy it is to put a case together here. So we'll put in Bob and Mary Smith here at the top. We'll do Bob Smith, and we'll say he is age 60. And we'll do Mary Smith, and we'll say she is age 60 as well. You notice to the right of the screen, we can put in their current address. We can do client beneficiaries. We can select how they're going to be filing their taxes, if it's joint or single. And we can add any real estate that they own. So we'll say Bob and Mary Smith do have a home. That they owe that it's worth $300,000, and they only owe $100,000 on it. All right. Next here, if your client doesn't know how much income they need in retirement, we do have it here where you can create a budget for them so they can get a pretty good gauge of what their expenses are going to be during retirement. Or you could simply use the 85% replacement rule that's common throughout our industry. But either way, if you don't know what that number is that they need in retirement, we can help them put a budget together. But we'll assume with Bob and Mary's case here that we do know what their retirement needs are going to be when they retire. So the next step is we would go and we would enter their current assets. So you see we do have the home here that we entered. Next we would add their assets. So we'll say Bob has an IRA. This is qualified. We'll say it's high risk. Client number one was Bob. Client number two was Mary. When we entered it under client details, so this is client number one, which is Bob. And we'll say his IRA has $200,000 in it. We can also, let's add a non-qualified account for Bob. So we'll select it's non-qualified. We'll say it has moderate risk. Again, it's client number one. And we'll say it has $200,000 in it. Next, we'll add a Mary's accounts. So we'll click on Add again, and we'll do Mary's IRA. It's qualified. We'll say it's high risk. It belongs to client number 2, which is Mary. And we'll say it has $200,000 in it. And we'll add an account for Mary's non-qualified. So we'll click non-qualified. We'll say it's a moderate risk. Client number 2, and it has $200,000 in there. So you can see we've entered their accounts, and when you look at the pie chart here, it gives them a good gauge on the current risk that they're taking right now. So 50% of their accounts is in moderate risk, 50% is in high risk. As we put our example allocation together for them, that will show up here, and then that can lead into a conversation about the rule of 100 and why it's smart as they get older and further along in retirement that they reduce the risk exposure that they're taking on. So the next step here is to put together their income plan. So it's very simple to do this. We have 3 tabs: goal, income, and account. So our goal would be the amount of income they need in retirement. The income tab would be the current income sources they have now, such as Social Security, pension, rental income, any type of income that they're going to have in retirement. An account would be where we add our accounts. I always start with a goal, because if I know what the end result is, I can easily back into that. So we'll click on the goal button here, and we can name the goal whatever we want to, but I will just call it goal. We'll use a 3% inflation rate. And we can do a first-year goal, or we can defer it down the road. So since they're only 60 right now, and they told me that they wanted to retire when they were age 66, we're not going to do a first-year goal. We're going to back that up and do it when they're age 66. So I'll go down here to the goal adjustment, and let's say they shared with me they wanted $65,000 a year in retirement starting at age 66. So I'll click the year that it's going to start. I'll hit add, and then we're done. And you can see that starting at age 66, the $65,000 a year of income they need shows up, and it increases each year because of inflation. We can show different time horizons, so its default is set at 10 years, but we can back that down to 30 years, so we'll do that. So you can see how their income needs increase each year over the next 30 years. All right, so we have the goal in. The next step is to put in their current income sources. So we'll say Bob, Social Security. We'll use a 2% COLA. And we'll say his first year benefit is going to be $20,000. And he's going to lay that until age 66. And it's based off of client number 1, which is Bob. It is included in income tax, and we'll hit done. So now we have his Social Security. We'll add another income source, and this will be for Mary's Social Security. We'll use the same 2% cost of living adjustment. We'll say her benefit is going to be $18,000 a year. She's going to delay it until age 66 as well. It's based on client number 2, which is Mary. It is included in income tax, and we'll hit done as here. All right, so now we have our current income sources and our goal. So we do have a shortfall that we know gives us the number that we know we need to make up. If they had pension, rental income, again, we could add that just by adding more income columns. If I wanted to know what the shortfall was, the goal shortfall, I could click the goal shortfall button here, and it would tell me exactly what shortfall we have each year. So we'll click that, take that button off. We also gave you the option of showing gross income or after-tax income. So right now we're showing gross income, which most of the time when clients tell you, hey, here's the amount of income I want in retirement, they're thinking in gross numbers. But if you wanted to show them what your plan's going to provide for them on an after-tax basis, you can do that as well by clicking on the income tax button here. And we could assume in retirement, for example, they're going to be in a 15% tax bracket. Now you can see that our plan will show after tax income here. So we'll get rid of that. So the next step is to go and add the accounts. And once you've done your homework, if you know what annuities you're going to use, you know the managed accounts or security products you're going to use, it's very easy to add it in here and show your client how your plan is going to help them retire. So we'll start with we'll start by clicking on the account button here. That's how we would add an account. And we'll say that we're going to use an annuity here, and we're going to use $200,000. And this is going to be Bob's non-qualified account we're going to use. We'll use a 3% assumed rate of return. Let's say we're giving them an 8% bonus. This is low risk because it's an annuity. It belongs to account owner number 1, which is Bob. It's non-qualified. And let's say you're going to do a joint payout. You've done your income rider calculator, and it showed, for example, joint payout at age 66 on this annuity would be $15,000 a year. So we would plug that here, and we would hit done. So now our account's created. We would go into the set button here, and this is where we would set what type of income we're going to take from it. So I would click the set button, and we can choose annuitization to liquidate the account over a set number of years. If we wanted to do annual fixed withdrawals, if we wanted to do a 4% withdrawal or some type of percentage withdrawal each year, RMDs, we could also show savings going into account for a certain amount of time. But in this scenario, we're going to use the income rider that we had entered when we created the account. So I'll click on the Use Income Rider from Asset List button. The income is going to be based on both lives. It's going to start when they're age 66. And there's not going to be an end year to the income because it's an income rider. And I'll click Add, and I'll hit Done. So now you can see it's showing the $15,000 a year coming out of the annuity product, and it continues on continuously as long as either are alive. All right. But if you look over here, as far as the total income we're giving them versus the goal, we still have a shortfall each year that we know we need to make up. All right. So we'll create another account here, and we'll say this is a managed account, some type of security product that you're going to manage for the client. This will be the $200,000 IRA that belongs to Bob. We'll use a 5% assumed rate of return. Let's say we're going to do a moderate account. It belongs to client number 1, which is Bob. It is his IRA, so it's qualified, and we'll hit Done here. Now what we want to do in this scenario is, what I want to show on here is, let's show Bob only taking RMDs out of this account. So I'll go to the Set button. I'll click Required Minimum Distributions. It's based off client number 1, which is Bob. We're going to take his RMDs when he's 70 and a half, and there's no end to it because it is RMDs. I'll hit Add and Done. And you can see now the software has automatically calculated the amount of the RMD that he needs to take each year, starting at age 70. All right, let's go ahead and enter Mary's non-qualified account here, or Mary's non-qualified account. So let's say you're doing an FA, some type of index annuity product. We'll do $200,000 in it. Let's say you're getting a 4% assumed rate of return. It's low risk. It belongs to Mary, which is client number 2. We'll say this is her non-qualified account, and we'll hit Done. All right. And then let's go ahead and add Mary's IRA as well, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this account here to draw some income from if we still have a shortfall after Mary's taken her RMDs. So we'll add another account here, and we'll say this is another some type of managed account. $200,000. We'll use a 5% assumed rate of return here. We'll say this is going to be a moderate as well. Moderate account. It belongs to client number 2, which is Mary, and it is qualified, and we'll hit Done. All right. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to show Mary just taking RMDs as well. So I'm going to click on RMDs. It's based off of Mary, which is client number 2. She's going to start it when she's 70 and a half, and there's not going to be an end to it. And then we'll hit Done here as well. And you can see now the software as well has showed the amount of Mary's RMDs, right? So if we go over here and we've got all the accounts entered, if we want to know if there's still a shortfall, we'll click on Shortfall here so we can see the exact amount. And you can see that we do have a shortfall for 4 years here, right? So I'll take that button off. So several things we could do here with this third account. We knew there was a shortfall, so I could click on set, I could click on gold makeup, and we know the shortfall started year 7 when they're 66, and we can click no end, we'll hit add, and we'll hit done. Now what the software is going to do is it's automatically going in and calculating, okay, here's the amount of income that we need to take for these 4 years when there was a shortfall to help them hit their target income goal. So when we go over here to the far right now, you can see that we do not have a shortfall anymore. We've actually solved their income needs now. And then we started with $800,000. And this is how I would relay this to the client. We started with $800,000. I'm giving you the income that you need on an inflation-adjusted basis. And 30 years in the future, based off these modest assumed rates of returns that I'm showing, we're still showing that you would have just north of $1.1 million left in your liquid accounts. So that's how easy it is to put a income plan together for a client using Case Design Pro. A couple other things you can do with this software though that I want to show you. Let's go back to this FIA account where we're taking some makeup income from, and we'll hit clear and reset. One of the things that we wanted to do different with our software is give you the ability to show annual fixed withdrawals or a percentage withdrawal coming out and distinguish the difference between beginning of the year income withdrawals versus end of the year. A lot of software companies don't allow that. They always assume you're taking income at the end of the year, and it's a mistake by doing so for the fact that it's a different withdrawal amounts and could be a different account balances depending on if you take that income out at the beginning of the year or the end of the year. So for example, let's say here we wanted to do 4% withdrawals out of this account, and we're going to start at year 66 or year 7 when they're 66. I'll hit add, we'll hit done. So now you can see that out of our FIA account here that we're doing the 4% withdrawals, okay? And it's automatically defaulted to show that that income is coming out at the end of the year. And if it's coming out at the end of the year, the withdrawal amount would be $10,527. But if I wanted to show this income coming out at the beginning of the year, that withdrawal amount is going to be different. And I can distinguish between end of the year or immediately by clicking on this withdrawal immediate button. And you can see now it changes the amount of income they're taking out each year. So it's dropped from $10,527 at the end of the year to $10,122 if we take that income at the beginning of the year. All right. So go in and reset that. So again, we can do annual fixed withdrawals. We can show annual percentage withdrawals. We can show RMDs, beneficial RMDs, and we can also do fixed annual savings. All right, so let's go back in and we'll solve, we'll fix the account and solve for our gold makeup. So again, I'll click the gold makeup button and go ahead and solve the needs for this case. So again, now we've solved their retirement goals. We could also use life insurance on this. So we built the software to show where life insurance would be beneficial. So I could easily add a life insurance account by clicking on account here. And we'll title this life insurance. Let's say that the death benefit is going to be $400,000. And it's, of course, non-qualified. It's not included in taxes. And let's say we're going to defer this for, we could say we'll defer it for 20 years. So we'll assume Bob will pass away at the end of 20 years. And you can see now what it's done as it's deferred the life insurance account coming in till 20 years later. Now we have $400,000 here. And then this is where it leads into doing Social Security planning and using life insurance to help cover the income gap. And so what I would assume here is that Bob's going to pass away here. So I could remove his Social Security, move it over to Mary, and totally delete his Social Security payments coming in from this year and down. And then that's where we could use the life insurance to make up the income amount that she's losing from Social Security once Bob passes away. All right. Another cool tool that we added, because we really wanted to give you the ability to really help solidify the annuity sale to the client and show them the importance of using an annuity and providing guaranteed income that's not, it's not important on what happens with the market, whether it goes up or down, that income is going to continue to come in for life. And so we added a tool here called Market Volatility and how that affects retirement income. So keep in mind we started with $200,000 with an assumed rate of return. That $200,000 would grow to $257,915 a year 6 here. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to the Market Volatility and I want to compare apples to apples. So we'll do $257,916. Make sure that was right. 915. And with the annuity, we're giving them $15,000 a year guaranteed for life. We'll take away the COLA because we don't have a cost of living adjustment on the annuity I showed. And what I want to show them is what would that look like if you were taking the same amount of income that I'm giving you with that same amount of premium that you put into it, and you were taking those withdrawals out and you had your money in the market and you're in a product that performed as well as the S&P 500 does, which most money managers trail the benchmark. So we'll give your manager the benefit that he can do as well as the S&P 500. And you were doing that from January 2000 through January of 2015. So that will show you the impact of going through 2 bear markets. And how long would that money last? And what you'll see here is if we use that same account balance of the year that we're turning on the income rider, and we're taking out the same $15,000 a year, what you would find is January of 2014, your account balance would be 0. You would have ran out of money January 2014, so you wouldn't be able to continue taking that $15,000 that you need in retirement any longer. Whereas with the annuity product and adding the income rider, we're creating a what I like to call a privatized pension plan for you, because it's going to give you that $15,000 guaranteed for the rest of your lives as long as either of you are alive. So it does a really good job of showing that the market is good for growth, but when it's time to take income and you have different sequence of returns in the market, going through 2 bear markets in this scenario, they was never able to recover from that. So this tool right here does a really good job of showing the importance of using an annuity and having an income rider and getting that income that's guaranteed that you need in retirement. All right. You can go to Advisor Details. This is where you can add your name that will show up on the report. We have a disclaimer in there, but you can also add whatever disclaimers that you need, because if your securities license, whatever your broker-dealer or RA needs you to add, you can add that disclaimer there. We left room for you to do that as well. We gave you the ability to save all your cases, so all of your cases are saved in a cloud-based server. So no matter what computer you're on, as long as you have access to the internet, you can log in with your username and password, and you can see a list of all your accounts there, and you can restore it at a later time and work on it, make any different tweaks to it, save it, restore it, do whatever you need to. And you can also print your reports for you to go over with your clients, so we'll show you what that looks like. So I'll click on Print Reports. I'll click on the different options that I want to show, so we'll show them all accounts, assets, we'll do graphs, we'll show the summary, and we will show the market volatility page. And let's do a preview here and see what the case looks like. So you can see it will show your name here, prepared for your client. So the cool thing about the software is what it's done is it's really simplified things. So you can see, here's your client's whole financial plan on one page. Here's their income plan on one page. That's very easy for them to understand, how they're going to retire and how they're going to stay retired. And what I show clients when I'm showing this page is, Bob and Mary, your goal was $65,000 a year starting when you wanted to retire at age 66. And once we factor in 3% inflation, you can see that that goal that you need in retirement increases each year. All the way down to year 30, when you're 89, that $65,000 is now grown to your income need is $128,000, a little over $128,000. If you look at the total amount of income that we're able to give you with our plan, you can see that we're meeting your goal each year on an inflation-adjusted basis. And once you start taking required minimum distributions, we actually start exceeding the amount of income that you need in retirement for a few years. But we do keep up with the goal that you need on an inflation-adjusted basis each year. And on top of that, based off our assumed rates of return, we're still showing 30 years in the future that you'd have more money than you started with. So we're starting with $800,000. We're showing you'd have just north of $1.1 million 30 years into the future. So how are we giving you this income? And then you can show, here's your Social Security, Mary's Social Security with the COLA built in. And then you would go through the accounts. So we did an annuity with an income rider. We turn it on when you're age 66. It gives you $15,000 a year of guaranteed income. We took Bob's IRA. We put it in a managed account. We used a 5% assumed rate of return, and we're just going to take RMDs from this account. We did Mary's non-qualified account. We used an index annuity with a 4% assumed rate of return. And we only had to take income out of it for a few years. We had to take income 4 years here to make up for the shortfall until their R&D started. And then we didn't have to take any more income out till way down the road. Once inflation caught up, we had to start withdrawing from the account again. And then Mary's IRA, we put it in another one of our actively managed accounts, and we're only showing RMDs coming out of it at age 70. So here's their whole plan. Very easy for them to understand. They got it on one page. The next conversation is let's get into risk. So when we look at risk, here's your current assets. 50% of it is in high risk. 50% of it's in moderate risk. Here's what we're recommending. So you can see we're giving you the income that you need on an inflation-adjusted basis, but we're doing it with less risk. Now 50% of your money's in safe accounts and 50% of your money's in moderate accounts. We've got rid of the high risk, and it shows what accounts we're putting it in. This shows the projected account value, so it shows which accounts are growing and which ones we're drawing down. This is a nice chart. It shows planned yearly income, so you can see the blue line represents the income they need on an inflation-adjusted basis. You can see how each year we're giving them the income they need. We actually exceeded it a few years until inflation came up, and then we're back in line. But all along the way, we're giving them the exact income they need in retirement. This is really nice. This is a summary, so you can easily look at it and see, okay, on the annuity, it was non-qualified. It used a 3% assumed rate of return. It did have a bonus. There was the income rider amount. So it's just a summary of the accounts and who it belonged to, and if it was qualified, non-qualified, and how you, what type of account you put it in. Here's our market volatility page, so it compared apples to apples on the annuity, taking income that's guaranteed from an annuity and an income rider versus doing that same amount of income and doing it in a product that's in the stock market. And you can see, again, starting January 2000, starting with $257,000 and taking $15,000 out a year, you would have ran out of money in January of 2014. And then that's the illustration. So that's how simple it is. That's the printout report. So only a few pages here, but the nice thing is this right here, your client having their whole income plan, their whole financial plan on one page, and being able to easily understand it, follow along each year, and know what it's going to take for them to get that income they need in retirement and how they're going to stay retired. So again, thank you for your interest in Case Design Pro, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Keep in mind, if you do sign up and if you need some extended training on the program, that we will be more than happy to walk you through your first couple of cases and help you put those together. Again, it's on a month-to-month basis. There is no long-term contracts assigned with the program, and it is $50 a month. And I'll challenge you this. Try it out for a couple of months and see how it helps you close more cases that you're in front of, because it's going to do a better job than probably what you're using right now of relaying how you're going to help that client stay retired. So again, thank you for your time today and your interest in Case Design Pro, and I look forward to working with you in the future.